Hey. Welcome back to another episode of Friday Foods and Facts with your favorite guy, me. Bear with us for a moment. This is experiencing a momentary technical difficulty trying to bring in my business partner here, Tramar. Seems like there's an issue with the Facebook linking. So give me one moment and then I'll be right back with y'all. All right. I'm back. So it looks like we have got the issue resolved, and he'll be on here in a second. But in the meantime, I wanted to thank you for joining us on another episode of Friday Foods and Facts. I do want to remind you that the contact information for us both is above and below. You can reach me at dkmortgage.com/McAllister. That'll take you right to my website where you'll have the ability to create an account, fill out an application, and make contact with me, so on and so forth. And there's pertinent information there. I have a blog listed on there, so I give out information as well. You can also email me at kindle.mcallister@dkmortgage.com. That'll come directly to me. And then that 248-763-7091 is actually my cell phone. So feel free to call or text me there, and I will definitely get back to you at my earliest convenience if I'm not available immediately at that time. Below, you will see Tramar Clay. That's a realtor partner that I work with. He has his own team. We've been working together for years, and he's definitely somebody that can help you out, help you find a property, and get into something as quickly as possible. He is an expert when it comes to negotiating and getting things for his clientele. He really does work for his clientele. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him in here. Sorry, I'm just muting my phone. It's ringing, which is a good thing, right? Looks like he's loading in, and then we will get the ball rolling. It's a nice sunny day outside, about 50 degrees, so that's not too bad. Try to get out and enjoy this weekend if you can. That's just my recommendation. But what's all in all, everything being here we are. Here's my good man Tramar Clay. Say hello to the people, Trey.
Yeah, sorry. What's going on? Sorry about the technical issues that we had going on this afternoon.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Things happen. That's technology for you, So hey, got to do with it what you can.
Guys, is it moving?
Yeah. You're good. You're good. I can see you. I'm getting activity. I can hear you clearly.
Technology.
So
I know you're talking about.
Huh? What were you saying?
All right. So I know you're talking about. I wanted to talk more about the interest rates. I know that you talking about.
Yeah.
I think the clients need a little bit of hope and letting them know that it'll be all right.
So it will be. It will be. Like right now we're in an interesting time. We're battling the inflation, but it does seem like we are winning that battle. It does appear that our GDP is up another 2% from where it was, which is a good thing because that means amidst all of this rapid inflation and the increase that we're paying in price for items and interest and so on and so forth, we still have grown 2% in our economic standing as far as like spendings and such and what we can produce. So that means that we are combating the inflation effectively. But by the same token, a lot of experts believe that the inflation hiking needs to slow down because it's sending the signals of a impending recession. And that's just not here in America. It's actually a worldwide thing. And so I do believe that's also going to have a direct effect on what continues to happen with interest rates. I do know that the Fed has indicated that they're probably going to raise interest rates next week, next Friday, next Thursday on the 3rd, and potentially one more time in December, about mid-December. But I do think that that will be the end of the rate hikes. But if we continue to have this rapid growth in our economy, as far as on paper, maybe we won't see the rate hike in December because they've already discussed that the rate hike in December may potentially be less than what they've been doing of these past couple times, which has been 0.75% every single time. So I do think that they're seeing the effect that this is having on our economy just on a day-to-day basis, as far as like people's livelihood and being able to afford items, the cost of goods going up. And so, I don't think that they can remain this aggressive for far too much longer.
So I guess my question to you will be then, since we do see all this increase in interest rates and interest rates higher, I'm also seeing that rental rates are higher as well on the
Yeah.
in the market. Far as you see inventory out here, people are collecting $1,600 in rent. When I know I was in the rental game at one time, I was collecting more on the average of 800, 850. And now that the rent is like 13, 1400, that's still like a balance. Or that conversation last date the interest rate.
Yeah. So like that, and just to make that even more of a broader spectrum, that $1,300-1,400 rental payment, for those that are unaware, that's not just on renting a house. Apartments are renting for that. So, if we can get you into a mortgage
Right.
for less than that, you have ownership interest. And then as the market improves and rates drop, we can refinance you and lower that payment. Because I honestly, I don't see how landlords are going to charge less for rent once this inflation's over. Like it, if you look at
It's
it,
not.
if
It's
people
not.
are
They're not going to charge less. It's going to be the new thing. I mean,
right,
this is what
it's the
rent's
new
going to be
normal.
now. It's not going to be like we decrease in rent. It's going to be like this is the new rental rate. This is how it's going.
Right, and like you may get lucky, and maybe they don't raise the rate on you, over the next year or two because they are making so much. But you can almost guarantee yourself that a year or two down the road after that point, they're probably going to raise rental on you again. Whether it's $50 or $100 a month or whatever. But when it comes to the market and purchasing, if interest rates come down, well, now you're not worried about your payment going up. The only thing, that could potentially increase your payment in a fixed rate on a mortgage will either be your taxes and or your insurance. Other than that, your interest rate is fixed. The amortization schedule is set, and the dollar amount that you borrowed is set. So that math works out to a finite point in time at which you will have an ending. And in order to accomplish that, the payment needs to stay, X. You're not on an adjustable rate mortgage, which you may see some fluctuation. Now, for those that are on adjustable rate mortgage, taking advantage of that right now to get you into a lowered interest rate makes a lot of sense. And then when the market down the road does improve and interest rates lower, then to hop into a fixed rate at that same point makes even more sense to keep yourself from seeing any changes in your actual payment. And that's going to provide you with future security, kind of future proofing your loan, so to speak. But yeah, I definitely don't think that renting is going to go down. And so you might as well take advantage of this market right now and get into the ownership game so that you're not susceptible to increases in your cost of living involuntarily. Like you would have no control over that. So why put yourself in that situation? If you have the opportunity to take yourself out of that rat race, so to speak, then exercise that opportunity. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, increase that generational wealth. That's, home ownership, you can walk into equity. I mean, you are seeing equity drop, but you also see that equity will increase again. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Right. And so to that regard, I mean, the amount of equity that the country as a whole has gained over the past 2 years is anywhere between 40 to 60% the value of homes. Right now, we are seeing appraisals coming in lower than what the asking price is. But they're still coming in maybe 3 to 5% lower than what the asking price is. So if you look at it all, let's play devil's advocate and only give you a 40% increase in the gain that you made on a property that you owned, and then you go to sell it and it comes in 3% less. Well, I mean, you still walked away with a 37% increase over the course of 2 years, which is phenomenal. I mean, that type of return on your investment is extremely hard to come by. You typically don't do that in the stock market, in the bond market. If you get lucky, you may be able to pull it off in the crypto market. But something like the housing market is typically stable, which typically leads to long-term builds in equity. And I've seen appraisals on a couple of different files lately come in. One came in $5,000 less. Another one came in $15,000 less. So that worked out for the buyer because one, it lowers their payment. Two, it lowers their cash to close. And then three, it gives them more potential for equity increase over time because they're not buying in maybe at the top of the ceiling. With these interest rates, the market has leveled off some. And so now when they get in, they're here. And then as time progresses, they'll continue to build equity moving forward. And then they'll keep paying it down, their loan, which will continue to build equity as well, rather than starting up here. And then you're making your payment and it's coming down here. And then the housing values are decreasing as well. And next thing you know, they're moving together before you get a point where now the values start to go back up. So it's equity is
important.
Very, it's like I don't know how else to word it. Like it's
like a credit card that goes with the house, that unlimited, that's like 10 to 20,000, 30,000. I mean, equity is the key in real estate, actually.
Right.
Creating like houses that equity. Creating that equity, I always compare equity with like American Express. Like, hey, you can just do a lot with just equity. You don't have to just be to one excitement. With equity, you can go out and buy another house. People don't really know that. Like, you can pull the equity out of your current house to go finance or go buy another house off of that equity. That it's creating wealth.
Yeah, definitely. And so actually one of the files that I have in right now, that is the exact scenario. The young man is using the equity on the home that he purchased roughly 18 months ago. And he did some upgrades to it, but also the increase in the market, he's gained a lot of equity. So by doing so, he's able to leverage that with a home equity line of credit and take that money to buy another property. So he's buying a property 100 miles away from where he is right now, and it's going to be a multi-unit property that is going to turn more income for him. So, he's leveraging that equity to create more opportunity for himself and for his family and more income, So, like, why not let that be you? And what I think what people fail to realize as well is that Houses are one of the very few appreciable assets that you'll be able to get your hands on. Most everything else that you get your hands on immediately depreciates, whether that's cars or jewelry, and jewels, they retain their value um, a lot better than other items, but they don't typically appreciate in value. Something catastrophic has to have happened to that piece of jewelry in order to create some type of story or something that's going to manipulate those who are looking to obtain it to create more wealth. Generally speaking, jewelry has a set price. You buy a diamond for a certain dollar amount. That's based off of its its clarity, where it came from, the cut itself, the carats, uh, and like its inclusions, stuff like that. So those things kind of set its point. But if you take that same piece of jewelry and let's say it belonged to a king or queen, or it's a piece of jewelry that's been missing for hundreds of years that has a story to it, well, that story is going to add to its value. And now that same thing that might have cost $15,000 to make, may have appreciated in value to $1 million. But all those other pieces that had to come into play in between, um, is what's creating the value. And the likelihood of something like that happening on a consistent basis to an item is very slim to none. Whereas if you have home ownership, it's very common that your equity is going to increase year over year over year. It may not be a lot, it may just be a little bit, but nevertheless, the fact of the matter is that your equity is increasing without something catastrophic having to happen to that property in order to increase its value. It is just increasing based upon the economy and the other things that are happening in the area. And so you're reaping the benefit of that almost immediately.
It's money. It's like a bank inside within your house. It's money already there. It's just you
Right.
have to tap into it to to get access to it. But it's money already there. It's automatic money that's saved for you that's already there that you can take advantage of and create more wealth for you and your family.
Right, right.
Especially in today's economy, that's something that people should want to consider.
I definitely agree, you know, because like we're we're in a very unique time and place in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry right now to be able to obtain prices that are fair and interest rates that are still fair and have the potential for growth. And like I know a lot of people are like, well, I mean, you're saying the interest rates are fair, but they're so high right now, 6, 7%. I get it. You think that's high because we as an economy have been in a lower interest rate market probably for the past 12 years, right?
Right.
That's not the typical norm. For those of you that are 35 years of age or below, go ask your parents what was their first interest rate on their property on something that they bought, and if they if they were able to obtain a house, I can almost guarantee you that interest rate is going to be double digits.
It was high too, right?
Right?
Yeah, it was high.
And you were looking at double digits on a shorter term, like 15 years. You weren't looking at 10% on a 30-year mortgage. You're looking at 10% on a 15-year. So you have half the amount of time to pay almost double the amount of interest, which is definitely going to increase your payment. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's still an awesome time to buy right now. And
I agree.
while and what were you saying?
I said I agree. I think that this is a time it's a buyer's market. So I'm telling clients, buy the house now and refinance the interest rate. I mean, it's not going to be forever that this interest rate is going to be this high, but the house that you wanted, this is the perfect time to get that house. I mean, if you see a house on the market, a seller is willing to negotiate and hear the buyers out now.
Right.
It's
Right.
not a
That's
seller's market, it's a buyer's market. It's shifting over. The market has shifted.
right. Because, sellers are now they're starting to see values coming down. So now there's a little trepidation there. They're like, oh, am I losing money? Let me get this
Right,
off my
right.
hands quicker, which
So you got
creates more
sold
opportunity.
now. So sellers like, man, should I sold last year or should I be selling
Right.
now? Everybody like scratching their head, like wondering, like, what the hell should I have done, or what should I be doing? But I think the buyers that's out there that's looking for a property, I think that they have the advantage. I mean, if you want to buy a house this Christmas, you got the advantage. This holiday,
Right.
you want to be in a house before the new year, you have that advantage. I think it's
Hmm.
important to just marry the house, date the interest rate, let the interest rate, ride with that interest rate for a minute. And once that interest rate drop, cut it, refinance, keep everything in shape. And then if not, buy a house and walk into the wealth, the
Right.
HELOC, the home equity line of credit. You do that, right? You
Yep.
specialize and work on that as well, correct?
Correct. Yep. That is something else I can provide for our clientele. So, it's like Trey said, like, capitalize on this equity here. Like,
Right.
this is a rare time right now. I don't think people really understand how rare it is to be able to get into something with the amount of equity that we have built as a country over the past 2 years and are going to
Right.
continue to build. And I know a lot of people are like concerned, is the market going to crash? Well, a lot of the things that caused the market crash before are no longer existent. The
Right.
programs have been changed, guidelines have been changed. Um,
Right.
Predatory lending is now criminal. So a lot of the stuff that was putting people in a bad way before is no longer relevant. It doesn't
It won't.
exist anymore. So remove that fear, that trepidation that you have of getting into the market, because it's easier now. Like, I know I still talk to people now that are under the impression that in order to get a conventional mortgage, you have to put 20% down. And that's because they're unaware that that was
Yeah.
changed years ago, that you can get in with as little as 3% down now. So if you were looking at $100,000 house, initially you were thinking you had to put down 20 grand plus taxes, insurance, and closing
You
costs.
don't have
Well,
to.
now you can put down 3 grand plus taxes, insurance, and closing costs. So you just saved yourself $17,000 right there,
And then
just
they
by
said,
having the knowledge.
I was reading a post on social media that most millionaires is created in the reception.
Yes.
So I
Because what
mean,
they're doing is they're buying low and selling high. That's the
right,
whole point of the stock game, right? Like, you
right,
buy low and
right,
you sell high. Well, in the recession, everything is low. So
right,
buy everything that you can, including houses, including
right,
land, because
right.
land is one thing that there will not be more made of. I mean, yes, if you look at the grand scheme of things and how the earth works, yes, there will be more land made. Eventually, there will be, plates that shift under the
Yeah,
earth that
hey,
cause
that's another
volcanoes,
conversation.
you know, right? But like,
That would be another conversation.
right? Because that type of land you're not going to have access to. That's not going to be
Right.
buildable land. You got to wait until that emerges from the ocean, cools, and then begins to grow. And it's something that's going to want people to actually going to want to populate it. So by the time that happens, you're probably going to be gone, right? So
Right.
get the land while you can, because it's here now and it's a finite resource, right?
Right.
And the more that you have of a finite resource, the more you can demand when it comes for time to sell, because no one else has that, right?
Right.
Everybody can get access to water,
But
but
everybody can buy that.
not everybody has land,
That's true.
So that's just something to think about, and while we're discussing interest rates and loan costs and such, I do want just to touch base on that. Like, interest rates did, um I don't want to say they improved, so to speak, but the point at which the Fed has been lending money has improved over the past couple of days. We've seen some gains in the market. What that's done, though, is it's taken some interest rate scenarios out of the 8% range, but most interest rates now are going to have points associated with them. So to break that down a little bit more, points are 1 point is equal to 1% of the loan amount.
Right.
So if you're paying 2 points on $100,000 loan, that's an additional $2,000. Well, in today's market, points are a common practice. So whereas a year and a half ago, it was one thing to get into a house, you were getting into the house with no points. Just know that you're going to have an increase in your costs that's unavoidable right now. It's a byproduct of where the market is today. So with that being said, you're going to have to save up more money, and when you speak with your lender, don't be surprised if the costs are more than what you initially anticipated. And one of the reasons is because of the points. There's no getting around it. They're there. Now, we can navigate that expense by leveraging this current buyer's market and using what's called seller concessions to get the seller to give money towards your closing costs to help you, paying off other items, which you can use to pay down the points, to make your closing costs a little bit more in line with where they were about 2 years ago. I mean, that's something that you're pretty familiar with, right, Trey?
Right.
Yeah. And, I definitely think that it behooves you to have an agent with excellent negotiation skills on your side. And just from my experience in working with Trey over the years, I've seen him do some phenomenal things as far as, negotiations and making deals happen for people, whereas they didn't think it was going to happen, or basically using his skills to be able to knock other deals off the table, and get in there and get something. So, like, take that number down. That's right down there that I'm pointing at. Take
Appreciate
that down.
I mean, 248-821-3465.
Yeah. That's the type of people you need. Like, I'm very serious. Take that number down. If you're looking to get a house, call him. Call him.
It's gonna work.
Okay.
It's gonna work.
Yeah. So, with that being said, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. We've been on for about half an hour. Typical lunch and learn here. Hopefully, everything has been meaty. It's been informational to you. Hopefully, it's just been something that you can learn from, something that you can share with friends and family that they can learn from. Hopefully, we've answered questions that you have. But if not, put them in the comments below. Reach out to us, text us, call us, email us. We will get back to you. We will figure something out for you. Whether that's right now or the immediate future, or even if it's down the road. Sometimes it does take time to get people together. And everyone's scenario isn't the same. So with that comes variability, and with that takes creative powers to figure out what can be done. And that's something that Trey and I specialize in, which is why we've worked together for so long, and we've had such a successful track record, and it will continue. So let us be a part of what you're trying to do.
Yep, I agree.
All right. So everybody enjoy your weekend. Enjoy this nice weather before we get cold again. And until then, have a good one. Thanks for watching another episode of Friday Foods and Facts. And I'll see you next week.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yes.